Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we will have an honest and eye-opening conversation that many men need far too late. Cheating doesn't usually begin with a sudden decision or a reckless moment. It often starts with emotional distance, subtle behavior changes, and quiet priority shifts. Long before anything physical happens, a disconnection begins to grow. And if you're not paying close attention, you might miss the signs until it's too late. This video is here to help you recognize those early cues, not through suspicion or paranoia, but through awareness and emotional clarity. Because when a woman starts pulling away, emotionally, her words and actions begin to tell a very different story than the one she may try to present. We'll explore 4 key phrases that often signal something deeper is going on. Words that can reveal emotional infidelity and manipulation, or a quiet exit strategy already in motion. This isn't about placing blame, it's about learning to protect your peace, your energy, and your emotional well-being. So if you've ever felt like something was off in your relationship, but couldn't quite name it, this video is for you. Stick with us until the end, because the signs we're about to cover could be the insight you need to walk away with clarity and not confusion. Let's get started. 1. He's just a friend. A classic red flag. It often begins with something small and easy to overlook. A name that comes up a little too, usually a laugh that sounds slightly too familiar, or a story where the same man appears repeatedly. She smiles and says he's just a friend. Maybe you want to believe it. Perhaps you tell yourself you're overthinking because you trust her. But underneath those 5 words, there's often a much deeper story unfolding, which has less to do with friendship and more to do with emotional positioning. It's rarely a casual statement when a woman insists on explaining why another man in her life is nothing to worry about. It's rehearsed strategic. She might make him sound harmless. Maybe he's gay or already taken. Perhaps they've known each other forever, or she'll say things like, "He's like a brother to me." These details are chosen not to make you feel secure, but to keep him close without confrontation. The more effort she puts into defending the relationship, the more you must ask why she needs to explain it. She wouldn't need to justify his presence if this man were irrelevant, but instead you'll notice patterns. She brings him up when she doesn't need to. She laughs a little louder when she reads his texts. She may even encourage you to meet him, hoping your discomfort will disappear if you like him. But it doesn't. Your instincts start to pick up on how she protects that connection, sometimes more fiercely than yours. The real test is in how she responds when you express concern. If she's dismissive, defensive, or even angry, it's not because you're wrong. You're close to something she hasn't admitted to herself. A woman in love with you truly and deeply will take your emotional safety seriously. She won't demand that you tolerate something that makes you feel insecure. She won't insist on keeping someone around if she knows it's damaging the foundation between you. But when she does the opposite, when she refuses to create distance and invalidates your concerns or gaslights you into believing you're being insecure, it's time to step back and see what's happening. Emotional boundaries are often more complicated to draw than physical ones because there's nothing obvious to point to, but that doesn't make them any less real. Emotional infidelity begins not with betrayal, but with loyalty being quietly shifted elsewhere. You'll notice the signs: frequent texting laughter at her phone with no context, messages she deletes or hides before you can ask. Sometimes it's her sharing private details about your relationship with him, confiding in him about things she no longer brings to you. This is not harmless. This is not friendship. This is emotional intimacy, being transferred one message at a time. And the worst part is, she may not even realize she's doing it, or maybe she does and doesn't want to stop. It's not uncommon for these friendships to evolve into something more once the current relationship ends. It happens so often that it's no longer surprising. There are stories like this everywhere. For years, one man watched his girlfriend fiercely defend her closeness with a male friend. Every concern was met with laughter or irritation. But only months after they broke up, she was in a relationship with that same man. Eventually, they got married. The man, who was supposedly just a friend, had been quietly waiting in the wings, and she had kept the door open for him the entire time. This is the uncomfortable truth that many men don't want to face. The words, "he's just a friend," are not always a lie, but often incomplete. If she's willing to risk your trust to keep another man in her orbit, she's not choosing you fully. If she gets defensive instead of empathetic and dismisses your concerns instead of addressing them, it's not about love, but divided emotional loyalty. And love divided is love weakened. A saying fits here perfectly. You don't compete with a friend. You compete with someone she hasn't been honest about. When a woman's emotional energy is given to another man consistently and covertly, you're not imagining the shift you're living in it. A partner who truly values you will make you feel you're enough. She won't make you feel like there's someone quietly waiting in the background while she expects you to act like everything's normal. Trust isn't built on how often someone tells you not to worry. It's built on their willingness to protect what matters to you, especially when no one's watching. And if she won't protect your heart from the presence of someone who threatens it, then just a friend might be just the beginning of a much bigger truth. 2. Gaslighting and deflecting accountability. There are moments in a relationship when something just doesn't feel right. You sense a shift, a tone in her voice, a hesitation in her answers, a story that doesn't quite add up. You bring it up gently, unsure if you're overthinking it. But instead of clarity, you're met with deflection. Suddenly, you're the problem. You're being insecure. You're overreacting. What you thought was a conversation becomes a courtroom, and somehow you're on trial for the very thing you were questioning. This isn't just miscommunication, it's a psychological maneuver. She's not addressing the issue when she makes you doubt your instincts or feel guilty for noticing red flags. She's dodging it, that moment you caught her sitting too close to another man, or saw a text that felt off. What you felt was valid, but her response turns the spotlight on your reaction, not her behaviour. It's a subtle rewriting of the truth and meant to make you shrink. That's gaslighting, not always loud or cruel, but always confusing. Sometimes it goes further. You voice concern, and she flips it on you. Maybe you're the one cheating. She says, "Why else would you think that about me?" It's not just defense, it's projection. Instead of answering your question, she plants suspicion in your direction. It's a way of pushing you off balance while avoiding accountability. You end up second-guessing yourself, not because you're wrong, but because she's skilled at making you feel like you are. And then come the stories that shift. One day, it was a girls' only night. The next, someone casually mentions a guy being there. She brushes it off when you ask. You're reading too much into it, but your gut knows better. It's in these minor contradictions where the truth leaks out. The inconsistencies aren't always dramatic, but they matter because over time they wear down your confidence in your perception. You start ignoring the whispers inside you in favour of the explanation she hands you. But you need to remember that your intuition doesn't lie. When something feels off, it usually is. You don't need every detail to align perfectly to trust your instincts. There's a reason you felt the need to ask. There's a reason the answers didn't sit right. Your peace is too valuable to be chipped away by half-truths and blame games. There's a quiet power in standing by what you know. Even when someone tries to rewrite the story as the saying goes, if your spirit is unsettled, there's a reason. And no matter how much she tries to twist the truth, your clarity begins when you stop doubting yourself. 3. I need space. A soft exit strategy. When a woman says she needs space, it rarely arrives without warning signs. The words might sound gentle, even thoughtful, as if she's stepping back to work on herself or find clarity. But more often than not, the space she's asking for isn't empty, it's already being filled by someone else. This phrase is one of the most misunderstood exit strategies in modern relationships. It feels like a pause, a moment to breathe, a chance to reset. But in truth, it's often a carefully phrased way to soften the reality that she's emotionally detaching. What she frames as growth or reflection is usually a doorway. She's opening not to find herself, but to welcome someone new into her life without fully letting go of you. Watch her behaviour closely. The texts come less frequently now, and the tone is cooler. Phone calls that used to stretch into the night become short and practical. She avoids physical closeness, not out of stress, but out of disinterest. She spends more time with new friends, and her energy seems to shift toward people and places that don't include you. One name might appear more often than before, followed by, "he's just a friend," but you can feel the shift in her words and the absence of emotional intimacy. This is where many men falter. They chase, they beg, they try to prove they're worth staying for, but chasing someone who's already walking away only makes the distance grow. She isn't asking for space to heal the relationship. She's asking for it to test life without you while keeping the door slightly open just in case. In her silence and absence, she watches how you respond. The more you reach out, the less she respects your center. The strongest response isn't to argue or explain. It's to honor the space completely. Step back, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. Let her actions reveal her intent. If she uses that space to build a life without you and grow closer to someone else, then the truth was never in her words. It was in the distance she created. There's wisdom in restraint. A man who can remain grounded while someone drifts away isn't passive. He's powerful. Eventually, she'll realize that the space she asked for became the silence where your presence disappeared. And in that silence, she'll see what she walked away from. Not just a man who loved her, but a man who knew when to stop giving himself to someone who had already let go. For you deserve someone better. The final signal. There's a moment in some breakups that feels more confusing than heartbreaking. She sits quietly, maybe with a look of regret or a practiced calm, and says what sounds like a compliment but lands like a verdict. You deserve someone better. The words are delivered softly, as if she's doing you kindness and handing you a truth that should make you feel grateful. But underneath that polished sentence is a quiet unraveling of something already broken. And the real message, the one she's not saying aloud, is far less noble. I've already left. Please don't make this harder than it needs to be. When a woman says those words, she's almost always gone. Maybe not physically, not officially, but emotionally, she's no longer in the room with you. The warmth has faded, her presence has shifted, and something in her tone now carries distance instead of care. You'll start to notice how the conversations grow shorter, how the eye contact disappears, and how her touch feels more like a habit than a connection. She's already withdrawn from the relationship, and what you hear now isn't a conversation. It's the closing line. This phrase is one of the cleanest emotional exit strategies she can use. It gives her the moral high ground while protecting her from guilt. Instead of saying, "I've lost interest or met someone else," she says, "You deserve more." A statement that frames you as the victim of a decision made with compassion. But in truth, she's asking for a smooth exit, one without confrontation, without difficult questions, and without having to explain choices. She may not want to admit, especially if she's already emotionally or physically involved with someone else. This phrase allows her to move forward without carrying the weight of betrayal. She gives you the appearance of agency while controlling the direction of the outcome. The tactic works because it flips the emotional script. Suddenly, you're not the one being left. You're being offered freedom. She frames the breakup as a gift to you rather than an escape for her. And it works exceptionally well if you're still trying to make things work, hopeful and unaware of how far gone she is. You may find yourself responding with confusion or even gratitude, not realizing that what's happening is a carefully worded way to shift the emotional labor of the breakup onto your shoulders. Many men make the mistake of trying to fix things at this point. They think maybe she's just tired or confused or needs reassurance. They offer to do better and communicate more, to change whatever they believed pushed her away. But when a woman says you deserve better, she has already rehearsed her exit internally. She is not asking for solutions. She's asking for closure without the mess. Trying to win her back at this point isn't strength. It's a delay of the inevitable and a slow erosion of your dignity. The right move is counterintuitive but powerful. You let her go without begging, bargaining, or needing the whole story, because the truth is already there in the silence behind her words. She's no longer emotionally invested, and she wants you to make the ending easier for her. Your acceptance isn't a loss. It's self-respect. It's understanding that if someone truly valued you, they wouldn't leave you under the illusion of being helped to heal. They would stay and face the discomfort of working through it. There's an old saying worth remembering. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. In this case, when she tells you deserve better, don't read it as humility or love. Read it as her way of asking to be released from the role she no longer wants to play. And the sooner you recognize that, the sooner you stop holding on to someone who has already let go. Healing begins not when you chase closure, but when you choose clarity. And clarity comes when you understand that real love doesn't end with a catchphrase dressed up as compassion. It either fights to stay or it walks away. Honestly, anything else is just a carefully worded goodbye. Conclusion. Don't settle for half effort. Cheating at its core is rarely impulsive. It's not something that happens suddenly without warning. It's a gradual unraveling of emotional connection, loyalty, and respect. And as we've seen throughout this video, it often begins with small, seemingly innocent phrases that many men overlook. He's just a friend. You're being insecure. I need space. You deserve someone better. These aren't just words. They're cues. They're signals that something has shifted beneath the surface. When a woman begins to disconnect emotionally, the language she uses changes. Her behavior becomes more guarded, her presence more distant, and her reassurances start to feel hollow. She may not admit it directly, but she tells you what you need to know if you can hear it through her words and actions. This situation is so painful for many men because of the betrayal and the realization that they ignored their intuition for far too long. They questioned their gut feelings, tried to be more understanding, gave more chances, and made excuses for what they felt to be true. But emotional infidelity and the patterns that lead to it rarely correct themselves. Once respect is lost and another person begins to occupy emotional space in her heart, the relationship you once had is no longer the same. This isn't about blaming women, nor is it about encouraging distrust. It's about learning to listen to what's unsaid. A woman still emotionally committed will do everything she can to protect the relationship. Honor your boundaries, prioritize your feelings, and communicate openly. But when she begins to use language that deflects accountability, manipulates through guilt, or seeks space without clarity, it's often a sign that she's already started emotionally exiting the relationship. And here's the truth. You are not responsible for convincing someone to stay. You are not meant to beg for love, loyalty, or clarity when a person shows signs of detachment, especially in vague phrases or defensive behavior. It's not your job to decode or fix it. Observing, assessing, and protecting your emotional well-being is your job. Staying in a one-sided relationship, hoping that love alone will bring them back, only prolongs your pain and delays your healing. A man of value does not chase half-hearted affection. He does not tolerate ambiguity nor allow himself to be strung along by someone emotionally elsewhere. Instead, he moves with quiet confidence, walking away from what no longer serves him and making space for peace, clarity, and growth. That is strength, not anger, not revenge, but the ability to detach with dignity. So as we close, ask yourself, honestly, are you accepting less than what you deserve? Are you hoping her words mean something different than they truly imply? And if so, are you ready to choose self-respect over confusion? I'd love to hear your story. Have you ever encountered these phrases? How did you respond? And what did the experience teach you about yourself and relationships? Share your thoughts and insights in the comments below. Your perspective might help someone else in the same situation. And if this video brought you clarity, don't forget to subscribe, and turn on notifications for more deep conversations on emotional intelligence, relationships, and becoming the kind of man who doesn't chase because he knows his worth. Until next time, care for your mind, protect your heart, and always lead with quiet strength.